Good afternoon. We apologize for the delay. We are very pleased to have you here today for the NJEDA's Innovation Programs Office Hours. My name is Cecily Kovach. I'm the Managing Director of Technology and Life Sciences Innovation, and I'm very pleased to see so many entrepreneurs here on the call today. This is the first monthly Innovation Office Hours for 2025. Office hours alternate between virtual and in-person events. Our next meeting will be in person on February 21 from 2 to 4 p.m. at the New Jersey Bioscience Center on Route 1 in North Brunswick. You can view the complete schedule of events on our website and register there at njeda.gov/innovation-office-hours. And these office hours are designed to inform New Jersey entrepreneurs, specifically founders of technology and life sciences companies, of the vast resources available to help you start and grow your business. So for those of you who are less familiar with the NJEDA, we provide a suite of financing and incentive products tailored to support New Jersey startups and grow New Jersey's innovation economy. Some of the products that we will feature today are on this slide. So they fall into three categories. So direct investment, incentives and grants, and ecosystem resources. So over the next 90 minutes or so, you'll be hearing presentations from our subject matter experts on select NJEDA innovation programs, as well as resources from the New Jersey Small Business Development Center. Before we dive in, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Today's event is being recorded. A link to this event will be on demand on our webpage. Please allow 48 hours for the link to go live. Your microphones are muted. If you wish to ask questions, please type them in the Q&A section, and we'll try and answer them throughout the event. If we're unable to address your questions during today's office hours, we'll do so with a follow-up email to all attendees of today's event. So without further ado, I'm pleased to turn the microphone over to our first presenter, Fariha Sheikh, NJEDA's Innovation Product Analyst. Fariha?
Thank you, Cecily. Hi, everyone. I will be starting with our first product, which is the Angel Match Program. This is one of our direct investment programs in which if a company is raising a preferred equity round, we can match that with a convertible note of up to $500,000. Through this program, we can match companies' investments on a one-to-one basis from angels, VCs, and other investors. This is a low-cost convertible note which has a 10-year term with no payments for 7 years and a 3% interest rate. Through this program, we are the first to commit, so companies should be applying when they have term sheets or letters of intent from investors. After we issue our commitment letter, companies can go ahead and close on their external funds, followed by our closing process. One of the things to keep in mind for this program is we do require that companies have at least $100,000 in 12-month trailing revenue, and the investments must not be closed. So please speak to us if you believe you may be eligible. One of the companies that has taken advantage of this program is AlphaRock, which is an AI-driven analytics platform based in Newark. We matched their private round of approximately $780,000 with our convertible note of $500,000. Next slide. Next, we have the Angel Tax Credit Program, which is one of our incentives for investors that are doing equity investments. We can refund that investment through a refundable tax credit up to 25% for investments in eligible New Jersey-based technology and biotech companies. The base amount is 20%, with an extra 5% available for companies that are certified women or minority-owned or are operating in an opportunity zone in New Jersey. This program is open to investors globally who invest in New Jersey-based companies, and with investors that do not have any tax liabilities in the state, we can provide a cash refund. An example of a company that has utilized this is Sunray Scientific, which is a materials manufacturing company whose investors have utilized this program multiple times. They've received over 800,000 in tax credits, which spurred over 3 million in private capital for the company. An important thing to note for this program is the application must be submitted within 6 months of the investment. Next slide. Lastly, we have another incentive for investors that are investing through a convertible note or unsecured loans. We can guarantee those for up to 80% or a maximum of 400,000 per company for investments in eligible New Jersey companies. This provides a level of security to investors as a guarantee is in place for 1 year from the date of the note or loan. An example of a company that has utilized this is Boom ID, who was approved for the maximum amount of 400,000 in guarantees on their 500K convertible note. This provided a capital injection from their private investors, and the company used the funds for marketing, hiring, and other working capital needs. Next slide. Now I'll turn it over to Judith Scheft, who is our Executive Director for CSIT, the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology, which is EDA's sister agency.
Thank you, Faria. So I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the programs from the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology that may be particularly relevant for this audience. We have a couple of programs that are really focused right now, and our focus is really helping early stage innovation intensive companies with non-dilutive funding. I'd like you to first focus on what is the eligibility criteria for our programs. And we have a common eligibility across all of our programs. A business needs to have less than 50 employees, paid or unpaid. 50% of the employees need to be working in New Jersey. And in general, a company must have at least one person working 35 hours a week full-time, either paid or unpaid. Additionally, the company needs to have less than 5 million in prior year revenue, excluding any kind of grant income that they might have received from the federal government, state government, or foundation. And then lastly, they need to be able to have in good standing to do business in New Jersey with a New Jersey tax clearance certificate. The current suite of programs that we have open is both a Catalyst and a Clean Tech R&D voucher grant of $40,000 that lets companies access specialized equipment at New Jersey universities, whether it's microscopes, animal testing, or data sets that a New Jersey university has that could be helpful for the company. It's a two-step application process. Companies apply, indicate what their needs are, and if they're not sure which university has the right facilities, we are on a call every other week with our academic partners and able to make those matches for you. The other program that is currently open on a rolling basis is the SBIR STTR Matching Grant Program. The federal government makes R&D dollars available to companies through a program called Small Business Innovation Research. If your company has received one of these federal grants, you can turn around and apply to CSIT to get matching dollars to go with that grant. If, however, you say, like, I've never gotten those federal grants and I'm not sure how to go about approaching that process, you can get grant submission assistance for these federal grants from the New Jersey Small Business Development Center's tech team. And at the bottom of the slide, we've indicated the link to be able to reach out to the tech team, and they will be able to provide you with a one-on-one coach to help work with you through the application process and through some phase zero support activity. They may even be able to help you review and provide coaching on your specific submission to the federal government. Lastly, I'd like to talk about our Research with New Jersey web portal. It provides information from our New Jersey universities on academics, patents, and facilities. As a company, you would put in a particular search term, and this tool will help you identify collaboration partners at our academic institutions. And again, this could be a valuable resource as you are looking to apply for some of these federal grants, as you may be looking to potentially collaborate with an academic institution to push your programs forward. We anticipate later in the spring, we may also have some clean tech seed grants available, and hopefully we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that at one of the other upcoming innovation office hours. I'd now like to turn it over to Jermaine Farms, who's going to talk about some of the programs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for making a value-based decision to join us. My name is Jermaine Farms. For those I have not met, can we get the next slide? So I just want to take a minute while we're discussing all of this fantastic stuff that we offer to make sure you understand the other part of the mechanism, and that's to look at different ways that you can get your business certified if you fall into any category that might suit your business. Anybody can be considered a small business. We also have certifications respectfully for minority, women, veteran, service disabled veteran, which is a specific category within the veteran sec, LGBTQ plus, small business, as I already mentioned. These certifications are out there and they can be done. Of course, we're primarily interested in you getting them at the state level, of specifically with the New Jersey Department of Treasury. But you can get certified a multitude of different ways by different entities. Some are within the spec of like New Jersey Transit or the Port Authority, or even regionally, you can go to the MTA, New York City, Empire State, et cetera. There are also major nonprofits that perform certification for minority women. Some on this call may have heard of an organization called WeBank, the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. Might have heard of NMSDC, the National Minority Supplier Development Council. So there's so many different ways to do it. Excuse me. Getting certified helps your business get traction. A lot of the public databases, like I mentioned, New Jersey Transit, Port Authority, the New Jersey Department of Treasury, those are open databases where anybody can go in and find who you are, what your service is, find basic information about your business, and literally reach out to you. And a lot of times it does happen. A lot of times people are looking to subcontract, bring on vendors to meet qualifications. Some organizations or entities, like I'll use for an example, PSEG, that might have a supplier diversity network where they're looking for diverse vendors. The certification is a bona fide way for you to be found for all of these different ways where you may be able to match for an opportunity, partnership, be found for training opportunities and other things that just might not be on your radar. We have provided here the link to the state of New Jersey Department of Treasury so you can explore the state of New Jersey certification. Some of the stuff that usually trips up some of the businesses that would go for certification are just business basics, if I will, just making sure you have your most recent tax information for the business, a fresh resume, who owns the business, how your business is structured. Is it an LLC? Is it an Inc? Is it a sole proprietorship? Just providing the basic outlines of information that can be used to determine who owns the business, who controls it, who runs it. Of course, we're looking for New Jersey-based businesses. The state of New Jersey, as of now, I haven't heard any changes, will still certify a business that is not based in New Jersey. Of course, we're looking to get more businesses that are interested in coming into New Jersey and being a part of New Jersey, employing employing people that are in New Jersey and building our system here. So the state will certify a business that is from out of state in all categories. So if you're a neighboring, or if you know a neighboring business that's thinking of New Jersey, they're more than welcome to apply to get certified. I've worked with businesses that have been trying to come to New Jersey from Pennsylvania, Delaware, of course, New York, and the like, that are actually shocked that we will certify beyond the region. So they're usually happy with that and, excuse me, want to explore a little bit more. Pardon me, everyone. I'm still getting over a cold. I know everybody is trying to stay healthy and warm at the same time with these sub temperatures. And I'm getting over a little bit of some stuff myself. So excuse me. So those are a little bit of the backdrop in terms of certification. I usually tell people, look, don't be scared of it. It's only going to assist you. It's not going to hurt you. The state does not charge. The state is not charged any money for certification. This fee was waived probably almost 5 years ago now. So there's no charge at all. It's completely online. It's fully able to be done, and in terms of you're putting in your paperwork and lining up all of the things that you need completely online. On average, I talk to Treasury quite often. They're doing a great job over there keeping track. And on average, it does take about 30 to 45 days. Uh, my objective, and for full disclosure, I used to be an auditor of these types of files for 3 different agencies. It's just make sure you are completing your package with everything you need to be found quicker. A complete file gets a set of eyes quicker. I always said, because if there's not a lot to review or keep requesting, then your file will be thoroughly looked at, and you have a chance to get an answer sooner than later. So with that, I will prepare to pass off to Sean, and you'll be about to hear all of the fine stuff that's happening with the Small Business Development Center. I believe my information will be available as somewhere on this slide, or if not, I can provide it. I'm always available to help businesses answer more questions that you might have beyond this forum and just get you started. All right. But thank you for your time, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Sean?
Thank you, Jermaine. Hi, everyone. My name is Sean. I am with the NJSPDC. I'm also here with Ryan. You want to introduce yourself, Ryan?
Hi, guys. My name is Ryan. I'm one of the consultants with the Capital team.
Awesome. Yep. And I am our Associate State Director at the NJSPDC. So we're going to be taking some time and essentially walking you guys through a financial projection. So I'm going to be sharing my screen, and we can kind of go through it. Again, keep in mind that this is, for time's sake and not understanding, the level of understanding that everyone has with financial documents, that this is going to be very high level. So let's get started. You want to add anything, Ryan?
No, well, yeah, always. But the so the idea here is to introduce you to the concept of how to build more accurate, more detailed financial statements, so that you guys can make more intelligent decisions with your business going forward, but also make it more advantageous for outside parties that need to be involved to see whether I want to partake in and invest into this business or not. But to do a deeper dive into any of the things that we're going to be talking about, please reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy as a network to work with you on a one-on-one basis.
Exactly. And just to piggyback on one thing there, we're going to hopefully say it several times throughout this, but even though this may be a required document for funding purposes, right, the real value is that every business owner should be doing this for strategy purposes, right, to see how their business is operating and what changes may need to be made to become, more profitable or adjust costs or whatever. And we're going to give you a sneak peek into that, into the power of this as we go forward. So I guess just to start, what are financial projections, right? What is this even for? So essentially, especially in traditional capital, if you're trying to get a loan, especially SBA loans, they're going to ask for financial projections for 3 years for your business. Now, what exactly is that? It's 3 documents. It's your cash flow statement, your balance sheet, and your income statement. And these 3 documents together provide a very, very elaborate, intricate look into your business. Exactly. And we can go quickly into high level. What do these documents provide? So, for example, your income statement, one of the 3, is going to give you a snapshot into your revenue, into your costs, and ultimately your net profit. Cash flow statement, very similar, but it's going to be focusing strictly on cash inflows and outflows. And this is different from the income statement, and we'll explain why later without getting too much into it. And the last one is the balance sheet, which provides insight into what are your assets, what are things of value that you hold versus what are your liabilities, who do you owe money to, and the difference between both of those becoming your equity. What is your ownership into this? So in order to create these documents, if you were going to do them from scratch, it's very difficult. So what this projection model or template will do is you provide bite-sized pieces of information, and these 3 statements will be crafted for you. Now, if we really dive in deep, we can go through and see how each of these things feed, but that would be a 50-hour seminar that we would have to go through of how, certain changes within some of the inputs affect each of these 3 statements, right? So that's way beyond this. But we will go through these input tabs and maybe give you a little bit of a peek into how some of these changes in these input tabs change these documents and the results of the documents or how they look. Ryan, you want to add anything?
Yeah, so the purpose here is something called financial modeling, where we get to play around with the different scenarios on what the assumptions are that we have that we think we're going to face within the next 12 months or the next 2 or 3 years, like Sean just mentioned, and what the trickle down effects are of each of those decisions. Should I pay employees this much money or this much money? What kind of sales goals should I have? When is my break even point? So like Sean said, that we'll repeat part a couple of times, the main value here is for intelligent decision making. The more quality data that we have with our starting points, the more quality, higher quality decisions we can make a little bit later on. And then more importantly, track that progress, over time. So this is not a document that gets created once and then gets put away. This is a document that gets created once and then gets updated regularly, and you meet with your quarterly team of advisors to see, hey, are we on track? What adjustments do we need to make in order to achieve our goals? So it's a very powerful document that needs to be updated regularly.
Perfect. So I hope we teased you enough, and so let's actually dive in a little bit more
Exactly.
into kind of doing one of these. So I think it's much easier rather than just speaking in concept to give an example, right? And then this is hand-me-gowns bridal. So essentially, think we're starting a business that is selling. So it's buying secondhand wedding dresses and selling them back. So it's like a reseller of wedding dresses. That's our business. Now we can always change this into, if you're a tech company, app sales or whatever else, and you'll see how you can change the thing. This is applicable to any type of business, really.
Mm-hmm.
You might need to modify a few things, but this should work for almost all of them. And this is also, caveat, for a startup. We're going to talk about just a startup. So to start, the first tab is the sources and uses of funds. So this
commonly
is
also referred to as a use of proceeds, by the way.
Exactly. So this is where you're going to start off and say, if I need say $100,000 or $200,000, it's easy to say that number, but what do I actually need that money for, right? And if you don't even know how much you need, this could help you do that. Another very powerful part of this is that there's going to be, in this case, for example, things that you might need money for that you haven't thought of. So if we take a quick example and look at this, your sources of funds that you need, or sorry, uses of funds that you need. There could be money that you need for fixed assets. What are those? Land, buildings, if you're building your own business on land, equipment, if you're in a capital intensive business, or furniture or fixtures. This is if you have this wedding store, for example, and you want a few decorations here and there, or furniture, a couch or something. Vehicles, if your business might need that. And then goes into, those are fixed assets, and then going into more operating capital stuff, legal accounting fees to begin, supplies, utility deposit or rent deposit, advertising and promotions. And again, you can go through this and kind of see, you might not have thought of some of these things, but these are all things that you can feed in. And I know Ryan's big on the notes and really elaborating.
I was waiting for you to give me the chance to talk about notes.
Go ahead.
But on the notes side, one of the sections that are going to be living in your business plan and your financial plan is something called an appendix. And the appendix is give me some documentation to back up any of the assumptions or things that are not necessarily obvious or clear on either document. And by the way, the business plan and the financial plan, and a very common mistake is that they're not telling the same story. They both tell the same story, but just one tells it with numbers, the other one tells it with letters. So if I say that I'm going to be spending X amount of dollars on a marketing plan, it should outline what those steps are for my marketing plan, and I should see the associated dollars on this financial plan to support each of those actions that I narrated on my business plan. So in the notes section, include links to what you're going to be spending money on, as a reference material, so that I can validate, yeah, this makes sense that we're spending this much on this or that much on that, whatever it happens to be. It also keeps you guys, well organized with where your money is going to be going. But again, this is your shopping list of what how I'm going to be spending my money. And then the bottom section, which Sean will go into in a moment, is where that money is going to be coming from to pay for this trip to the store, so to speak.
Exactly. And just to give a quick example of Ryan talking about mismatch between, say, business plan and this. Let's say you're saying, or you have the idea, I'm going to have a big marketing launch of my business, right? And then I look in this and I see $0 for advertising and promotion. What does that tell me? How are you going to be doing this big launch, right? So that means that maybe you haven't thought that through completely, right? So
Exactly.
this is where you could say, I'm going to have a budget for Facebook ads and for Instagram ads and for this and that, and then you can elaborate more on this, right? And actually put a dollar amount to it.
Or sometimes it's just not the right dollar amount, that big marketing launch, but I have $100 here. Again, not telling the same story.
Exactly. And so then just moving on to the second part, this is where are you going to get this money? So I found out that I need $19,850, say, as an example, for my hand-me-gowns bridal business, right? Where I have a small little retail shop of secondhand wedding dresses that I'm reselling. Where am I going to get this? Well, there could be owner's equity, which means I'm putting my own money into it, of $4,500, and then I'm going to get a commercial loan for the remaining amount. And you're going to put some details in here. It's a 5-year loan, 6.5%. And you're going to see this stuff is important because it's going to feed into your income statement. And just a quick example, let's say the loan rate was 20%, right? You can imagine that your profit's going to probably be less because you're going to be paying more in this interest, right? And your cash flow statement would show less cash available because more of your cash is going to be going to paying this high interest rate loan, right? So that is the main key points of this sources and uses. We can get into more stuff, but just to keep this moving, we're going to go to the second tab, which is after you fill out this section, you're going to start with payroll. And this is, what is it going to cost to have employees at your business, including paying yourself? So to keep it simple, we're filling out, by the way, if I hadn't mentioned it, we are filling out the amber parts. The remaining parts are formulas that will automatically calculate. And this whole,
I'm sorry.
yes,
Yeah,
on this specific spreadsheet.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. And we can give you a copy of the spreadsheet. This is a more simple version, but if you would like it, we can give this to you guys. So as an example, I want to pay myself as the owner. Obviously there's one owner, and I'm going to work maybe 42 hours, and I want to pay myself $18 an hour. Now this will automatically calculate what is that going to cost me for each of these months, right? And I know I didn't mention it from the first tab, but the reason it's showing up as April here is because in my start tab, I wanted to start in April of 2025. I could change this to say May, and then this would start in May. That's where this comes from. And then you could do part-time employees. Let's say I needed one at $20 an hour for 20 hours a week, right? This will also factor in what their payroll taxes and everything will be. You don't need to look too much into this. These are all auto-calculated. And it's going to give you, the total sums. You could see really quickly, it's going to cost me $3,200 to pay myself, $1,700 for my part-time employee per month, not including the payroll tax part. And then to forecast for years 2 and 3, we're going to do it in a different way where we're just simply adding a growth rate, meaning I'm going to predict that I'm going to give myself a 20% raise and my part-time employee a 5% raise. Go ahead.
I also think it's important to know, for planning purposes, if we're going to be sharing this document, and again, the we should not build this only because we need to satisfy somebody else's, request. This again is for our own education to know how we should be managing our own business. But when we do share this with banks typically want the first year of the projections to be broken down on a month-by-month basis. Because when Sean just went to this tab, we see that it's consolidated into a 1-year statements over here. So this is just it's very speculative to say this is how my business is going to be on the second year or the third year. So which is why we don't want or we don't really require a granular look at years 2 and 3. We can, but again, it's very speculative because we're jumping out too far out into the future. So traditionally, year 1, give me a breakdown on month by month, and then years 2 and 3, we can consolidate those statements.
Right, and we're just applying a growth rate to what happened in year 1.
Exactly.
Calculate all of year 2 and 3. Mm-hmm. Right, so I'm going to give myself, in this case, a 20% raise in the year 2, and then a 30% raise in year 3. And I'm doing this because I'm expecting sales to pick up tremendously, right? And that could be my justification.
A little greedy too.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want this to come off as me being greedy here, but okay. So then going to the next tab, and this is one of the most important. It's your sales tab. Hold on a second. Okay, so your sales tab, what you're going to do is you're going to divide by, first, think about what kind of products do you have or product lines do you have, right? And this is applicable to my business or my pretend business here. In terms of these bridal gowns, I can have 5 different tiers, with tier 5 being the most elaborate, nicest dresses that are costing $3,500 each, to tier 1, really low-end, dresses that cost $450 each, or that I sell for $450 each, sorry. And so you would decide what your product lines are. And in the case of, let's say you're a service business, it could be, different type. Let's say you're in the haircut or a barber business. You could have different types of haircuts and stylings and offerings here. And you would essentially put what is your sale price to the customer versus what does it cost you in just the raw materials. Don't worry about what it costs you in terms of like payroll or anything. That's all going in the payroll section anyway. So in this example, if my tier 5 dress, my nicest dress, it would cost me $3,500. I would sell them for $3,500 each to the customer, and it would cost me $980 on average to buy from wherever I'm sourcing these dresses from. And that would give me a margin of about $2,500. And the key part of this is this bottom part where you can actually break it down into how many of these dresses are you selling per month over the first year. Again, this is a forecast, so it's not going to be perfect, but at least it gets you thinking, right? The first month I'm in business, I'm probably not going to sell any of my high-end or even tier 4 or tier 3. So I put 0 there. I might sell 2 of the tier 1s, maybe 1 of the tier 2s. And it won't be until, say, month 4 or 5 that I really start becoming, known within the community and secure my first tier 5 sale.
And this is also very important for technology companies, which have historically a little bit further out break-even point, because there's either significant investment for the first few months, or maybe in the first year where it's a lot of our research and development dollars, or it's just a lot of cash burn that's going on for the first, again, 6 months, a year. So we can be very realistic and fine-tuned to tailor this so that it fits your model and what's going on in your business. So we can put down that we're going to expect to have our first sale on the end of the first year or the second year, and exactly build out gradually what those sales figures are going to look like.
Right. And again, at the end, we're going to give you kind of the main point that we're saying of give you strategy of how you can change these things, or how these things would need to be changed for you to become, or for you to get the results that you want from your business in terms of maybe profitability, right? So we will come back to this momentarily. I just want to cover these really quickly. But these, once you have these product lines, once you have a forecast of the first year by month, you're going to get some, calculated totals for the year here. And you go to the next tab, and we're doing again the growth rate thing between year 1 and year 2, and year 2 and year 3. So you can say I'm expecting a 45% overall increase in sales between year 1 and 2, and then a 70% increase in sales between year 2 and 3. In this particular model, you can override these and just put in the numbers you want. manually into each of these months, or you can just use the growth rate. So you have both options, right? If you want to keep it simple, just say I'm expecting to grow by 45% or increase my sales by 45%. So if I had sold one dress, or two dresses in October of last year, I'm going to sell 40% more this year. That's all there is for this tab. And then there's some additional inputs that you're going to do. And I don't want to get too complicated into this, but again, these are all critical information that's going to feed into these statements. So that's why they're asked here. And this is accounts receivable days outstanding, which essentially says, when do your customers pay you? As you could tell, some businesses you pay right up there, right in front, right? So you're going to pay with a credit card or something. And in this wedding case, in this wedding dress case, there might be an instance where I say for a $3,500 dress, you can pay me in 6 months, or I offer that kind of credit, right? And you could see how that might impact my business, because if I'm not getting the cash for 6 months, I still have all my expenses. I still have rent. I still have payroll. I still have all these things that I got to cover, but I'm not getting this cash until 6 months. So that would reflect on this cash flow statement. As just
an example of what we mentioned in the very beginning, how this is used for strategy and for decision making. When I notice that there's a shortfall in cash flow, that tells me I might need something to satisfy that shortfall in cash flow, which would be it's like a line of credit or a business credit card to keep the bills paid until until I'm able to collect on whatever the product or service was that I'm providing. That's an example of how to use one of these financial statements. And this is a very comprehensive, by the way, projection statements. They're not all this detailed, but again, like I mentioned, the more detailed, the more quality information you have, the more quality decisions you can make.
Exactly. And this even allows for bad debt. And bad debt is there's going to be a certain percentage of your clients that end up never paying. Are you accounting for that? Right. And the wedding case dress, there might be one client a year that just doesn't pay at all, even what they're owed. So again, you're going to go through some of that. And this is, again, accounts payable. This is what you owe to your creditors. So in the case of, if you're, buying dresses from customers to resell, do you have to pay those customers or clients that you're buying the dresses from immediately? Or can you get credit terms from them and say, hey, I'll pay you back after I receive money after I resell the dress, for example, right? And that could help you with your cash flow timing issues as well. So yeah, so that's the main part of this. I don't want to get too much into the rest of this because I want to just give a high level. But the other two main tabs here are operating expenses. So this is, and you could see some of these expenses right off the bat. How much are you going to spend on advertising? Right? For the first year, maybe it's important to be spending a lot of money. And again, this can match your business plan. If you're saying, I'm going to be doing this promotional event and I'm going to be doing this much on ads, I'm going to be doing this and this, this is where you put the money to it. There could be credit card fees, right? Go ahead.
No, there's a couple of tips, about a lot of this stuff. So we have to start with realistic expectations. When we look at what is our capacity to reach within the first year. I'm selling a physical product, and I have the capacity to sell that, within my region. My region might be my county, my town, my state, my country, whatever that happens to be. But that is a way that I can reverse engineer what are the expenses that I need to be able to allocate to. And again, because this is financial modeling, the idea is we're brainstorming, we're putting in a number, seeing if it works, and then we start to make the adjustments. So always look for what's called the total addressable market and work your way backwards from there, or your serviceable addressable market, and you will work our way backwards from there. And there's different resources that we can provide you with how to get some of that data for your industry, for your market, or your competitors. We can find out what your competitors might be spending on a certain expense, and see how closely in line you are with that. Because if we're looking at getting financing from a bank, they will take a look at your expenses and they'll see how far off you are from what the standard is for that expense. And if it's too much, they want a letter of explanation.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, one of the advantages I mentioned earlier is that sometimes even just looking at these things, there might have been some categories you might not have thought of, like, oh, a website hosting and maintenance, that costs money. I want a website, right? So we got to add that in, right? It's going to cost $216 a year. Utilities, right? And then building rent. What is the rent going to be? Legal professional services. Do you need a bookkeeper? Do you need an accountant? Do you need a CPA to do your taxes for you? Business insurance. Mandatory that you're insured, right? So these are costs that you're going to fill in, and we're going to do the same thing between year 2 and 3, where we apply growth rate to it. So how is advertising going to change the cost? I'm going to increase my advertising cost by 20%, meaning I'm going to spend 20% more on advertising in year 2. And I put 20% here. And then between year 2 and 3, I'm going to increase it again by 20%. And I'm going to get, overall 20 compounded for 2 years. And so that's what you would do for this. And now the best part is that these statements are made for you, and you could start looking at them to see how is, for example, let's look at the income statement. How is profitability doing? So if I go to the income statement in year 1, I can see in May that I will have negative $8,119 in profit. Now, why do we think that is? Most likely it's because we have very, very low sales in that year 1, right? So you see how I can adjust this? Let's say I sold 5 dresses instead of the 2 that I had in there. You're going to see now it's much less of a deficit. Now, instead of the 8,000, it's 7,000, right? So now we can start planning. Oh, wait, okay, so maybe I need to do a little bit more sales in the beginning of the month, or I have to just have cash to cover this, right?
Or
And
take
if you
a
want to know
reduction
what
of salary might be another option.
exactly. So now we're going to play with all of these little tools to see what can I adjust, right? Maybe I can spend a little less on advertising, but then that might affect sales. So maybe that's not a good idea, right? Maybe I increase the amount of funds that I receive. So I ask for a bigger loan to cover these shortfalls in the first few months before I start becoming profitable by, what is this, like month 6? By November, where it looks like I'm starting to become profitable, right? So these are all, again, it's very hard to just conceptualize in your head, wait, what happens if I pay my part-time employee, instead of paying them $20 an hour, I pay them $18 an hour? What happens? In your head, to conceptualize that with all these moving parts is very difficult, right? But if I just put 18 in here, I can go right to my income statement and I can see, oh, my loss for the year is a little bit less. And I can tell you exactly how much less it would be based on these assumptions. I could see how much of a cash shortfall I'm going to have.
Exactly, which then affects our decision to look at our capital model, or our capital structure, I should say, because we might need to recapitalize a little bit differently and say I need a little bit more money for I have a longer run rate, and I need to satisfy 9 months of expenses versus 4 months of expenses, and going back to the original use of proceeds tab, something that I forgot to mention is there is a breakdown on the bottom when it says, how is this being financed? And it says 22% of it is coming from my own pocket in this particular example, based on the cost of this particular project. Typically, to start conversations with most lenders, they want to see a minimum of 20%. With the SBA, if we're looking at loans specifically, or debt, that will go down to about 90 LTV, or 10%. Equity injection, same thing, just phrased a little bit differently. So now I get to, like Sean was just saying, play around with these numbers until it actually worked and hits that sweet spot. But we can customize this to fit any scenario. So right now there's maybe 7 or 8 different sources of capital for to fund this project. So one of those lines might be a grant. It might be a some of the products that NJEDA was just mentioning, the angel match, or some of the other products. So we can customize this to fit our needs, is the point, and then make the business work. That's the idea. The idea is we want to make this business work.
Exactly. So that was an overall high level summary of all of this. I'm not going to get into too much of the break even and financial ratios and things. But essentially, yeah, that's the value of the projections. I hope you guys find some value in it. And Ryan, is there any last words?
I hope everybody makes $1 million, you know, so this is a nice, good setup for that. We did have a quick question, you know, that came in, and someone's asking if this will be available for us to send. And Sean just mentioned, yeah, we'll make this available. And the second half of that question is that someone does have a financial plan and a business plan already done, and they want to see if it's possible to get somebody from the NJSPDC to review it for them. Absolutely. So, Sean, I think there's contact information for us, correct?
Yes, you could also just visit our website, njspdc.com, and request counseling. Just hit on the request counseling button. You basically just give us some few tidbits of information, and then you'll be assigned to one of our centers in our state, and someone will reach out to you.
Yep. There's one last quick question which we can answer pretty quickly. Does owner's equity, is it applicable to grants? And the answer is it depends. You know, every grant is unique. There are some private grants and some public grants, and each grant has their own guidelines as to how it's going to be structured. You know, what the application is going to look like. You know, what the use of the grant dollars are going to be. So everyone's going to be on a you know, per grant basis, I should say.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right.
Ryan and Sean, thank you so much. This has been so informative. And I think this is so important, particularly for very early stage entrepreneurs. Often entrepreneurs are so focused on their idea, the ideation, the engineering, developing the product and selling it, and don't often sit down and really think through the financials.
Exactly.
I always tell entrepreneurs, have you included insurance in there? That's a cost that many people forget. You've got to have insurance. You've got to have lawyer costs. Lawyers, attorney fees are always much more than you would expect. So this is fantastic information.
No, I appreciate that. And I'll finish up with one little part, you know, to respond to that. Is, you know, we usually become entrepreneurs because we're passionate about our product, our service. So we see a change and we're motivated that we can, or see an opportunity and then we can create a change. But without a core foundation, which is, you know, the, you know, what the house sits on, which is all the boring stuff, you know, it's all the financial and legal stuff that you're talking about now. That house, no matter how beautiful it is, it won't stay around for very long. So we need to spend a little bit of time doing some of the boring things in order for us to do the cool, you know, things a little bit later on.
Yep.
Exactly. Like programming in the functions here, the calculations, that takes a lot of time. It's tedious. But once you do that, when something changes with the market or the economy or the pricing, you can easily just put in that number and automatically it recalculates the entire thing. So it's worth the effort up front.
100%.
Exactly. That's a very, very important point, by the way. It may seem tedious in the beginning, but it's well worth it later on when you want to see quick things of like, hey, if I add an extra part-time person, what's that going to do? Or if I'm able to sell 8 more dresses, what is that going to do? And yeah.
I lied. One last thing. This is the last thing now.
Yeah.
So what's very important now, post-pandemic, is a contingency plan. You know, what's a pivot model? You know, we heard that phrase over and over shortly after the pandemic. By creating this and doing this work today, it's very easy to create that pivot a little bit later on so that my business stays around. You know, and that's what we want to do. The majority of businesses unfortunately fail within the first couple of years because they're not putting in this work. You know, once we put in the work and we see, hey, there's a shift in the economy, you know, my prices of goods sold just went up. How else can I shift my business around so I can stay afloat? You know, all the work has been done. Just make some minor adjustments to your financial plan and we know what to do going forward. Okay. Now I'll shut up.
No, thank you. This has been fantastic. I think someone in the notes was looking for an email. So if you're willing to give that, you could put it in either the chat or the Q&A. And then I think I'll call on Judith. Judith, would you be able to address Sharita's question on the Clean Tech grants?
Sure. For CSIT grants, there is not any requirement that you have been in business for any number of years. So conceivably, we have had businesses who've applied for some of our grants who just got established within the last month. They meet the criteria of having one full-time person working in the business 35 hours a week, and they're able to move ahead and apply for grants. So there's no limitation that says you had to be in business X number of years or you had a minimum revenue in prior years. So we are really focused on those very early stage companies who are just getting started, and we're happy to have a conversation with you on the slides that are going to be distributed. We've got our phone numbers and email. My team is happy to speak with anyone to get a sense so we can guide you through that process.
Fantastic. Thank you, Judith. Jermaine, are you available to answer the DEI question?
Yeah, what specific question is it? I'm sorry.
Sure. The question in the Q&A is,
Mhm.
DEI opportunities won't be going away yet?
Well, so we're processing the federal outline as it comes in, but this is the stuff that we have in place is specific to New Jersey and this agency. So that's that side, and then the other thing is you see on the corporate side, that's going to be a case by case basis. So you've seen Chase and other people, other agencies like Costco and companies say, look, we're going to continue to do what we initiated. So, but in terms of, I'll say it this way, to give you more of a historical outline, the certifications and other stuff that businesses that have been able to get, they've been around for years. Getting certified as a diverse business has been the only most recent one is LGBTQ plus, but to get certified as a small business, veteran, and other categories you've been able to do that for a long time. There's also goals and other things that come along with projects. Again, this is a long time practice in terms of building up businesses and building up businesses that are in underserved communities and really doing small business development, because most businesses are in fact just small businesses, no matter what community they come from. So unless you grow to become a behemoth, and I always use them as an example because it's a local business, Software House International, SHI, which Rutgers Stadium is named after. That's a $10 to $15 billion company. So no, they're not a small business, but once upon a time they were, right? So, that's the view on that. And in terms, I think there was a second part regarding the actual certification process.
There was a second question. I think it's related to yours. So how new can the business be? For example, just formed within the past 60 days?
Yeah, you're still new, because what happens is you don't have, you might have the basic outline of your company, but usually there's 1 year taxes at minimum that's required when you go through the process. So I usually tell businesses, wait till, if you're going to look to get certified, especially at the state level, be more than 6 months old, where you have at least done a couple of statements, maybe a CPA is tracking your statements and other stuff that might be applicable towards the process. But right now you don't have any of that stuff to submit for processing. So I usually tell people more than 6 months, and then look at going to get certified. The only time you can literally like come off the street, as I would articulate it, and start a business is on a private side. Yeah, you can go to NMSDC and WeBank and apply for certification right away if you are an upstart business. But on the government side, it's a little bit more stringent. And as you move up in agency, it gets even that much more. Port Authority and other places, they want you to have been operating for a while and be a functioning and a viable business. So it's levels to stuff, which that's why I will always offer my personal information so to discuss, because each business is really a case by case basis on who they should be applying with and why.
Thank you. That is such a fantastic resource to have. Thank you, Jermaine.
No problem.
Great. So Dennis had a question. So either Fariha or Monica, he was asking, they're considering the Angel Tax Credit Program. Is there a company that has successfully applied that they can speak with about the process?
Sure, I can take this question. So you can actually reach out to our mailbox and someone from our team can help with this. So real quick, this is a two-part application. So the investor and the company apply together. The investor would start the application, they would pay the fee, and then once their section is complete, a link is sent to the company to complete their portion. And it also really depends. It's different for each company in terms of their investment structure, et cetera. So it would really be a case-by-case basis. So you can reach out and our team can assist you with any specific questions.
Thank you, Fariha. So I see another question. Can one person apply for two separate companies? So if I'm interpreting this correctly, one individual has two different companies, and I don't know which product you are thinking about in particular, but as far as I understand, yes, they would be two separate entities. Anyone else have anything they want to add on this question?
Hey, Cecily, this is Clark. I would say that's a big it depends. So, all right, so I can tell you specifically our investment programs do not allow that. So while it's not in eligibility requirements, our investment documentation specifically says that you have to be 100% for the company we're investing in. So if that's like Angel Match or Accelerator, all the other ones. Now, other programs, it's not going to be as strict as that, right? So if you run two different companies and you've raised money in both of those companies, so we don't look at that. Your investors, if you have one investor that put money into both companies, they can apply to Angel tax credit for both investments. There's no restrictions with that. But mainly, I would say around our direct investment programs, 9 times out of 10, there's going to be a prohibition against that.
And from a CSIT perspective, you need to be working 35 hours a week for the entity. So if someone says, oh, I've got two different business entities, are you working 70 hours a week, 35 hours for company one, and then in the evening, 35 hours, for the other company, so that we do look to make sure that you still meet the eligibility requirements.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I'll also say that on our website, we do have the eligibility requirements. We have some sample applications, so you could look through those. And also our team, that's why our product owners are here as well, is to answer some questions like that. So let us know. I see a question here on, are there any requirements on revenue? Now, I'm not quite sure which program this was in reference to. Fariha, do you want to just recap on the products you were discussing?
Sure. So of the three that I discussed, Angel Match, Entrepreneur Support Program, and Angel Tax Credit, there's a revenue requirement on Angel Match for $100,000 in 12-month trailing revenue, and it needs to be product-based. So revenue from services or grants is not eligible. But the other two programs, Angel Tax Credit and Entrepreneur Support, do not have requirements for revenue.
Thank you, Fariha. Todd, I submitted a question with my registration. Do you have it, and will those be answered? I'm not quite certain. Is that for Jermaine? Maybe we can take that offline. Okay, Gary, is there a window for applications other than the laboratory access R&D grant?
Okay, I think this is, again, looking for CSIT grants. The access to equipment at New Jersey universities, the R&D voucher program operates on a rolling basis. It's currently open. The SBIR STTR Direct Financial Assistance Program also operates on a rolling basis. When we get to our seed grant programs, those will have a application window that typically is open for about 6 to 8 weeks. Once we get approval from our board on the clean tech programs, we'll publicize those dates so that individuals will know when they need to get their applications in. I like to tell people that it is when the computer in Trenton thinks the application deadline is. So if they think it's, when the computer in Trenton thinks it's 5 o'clock, if that's when our deadline is, please be sure that you kind of back that time up a little bit, 30 minutes, so that in case there's any sort of a hiccup, you are sure that you got your application in on time.
Thank you. This might be for you too, Judith. Different question, but similar bucket. If someone owns 2 startups and both are different domains, then are there any restrictions on getting CSIT or any other grants?
Now, again, you need to be sure that for both of the businesses, they have the separate EIN number, separate tax clearance, and that you meet all of the eligibility requirements for both businesses. But yes, you could conceivably apply and win awards for both businesses.
Thank you. Will the cash flow, income statement, and other financial statement templates be sent out? Oh, okay. They said they would. Yeah,
that one would be more for me. So, but I wanted to clarify that a little bit. So the financial template that we used is a very general, almost like a one size fits all, but it's more like a one size fits most. So the best thing to do is if you work with a financial consultant, anywhere, not just, with the SBDC, ask for the ones that are tailored or most appropriate for your business type. Whether you might be one industry versus another industry, or I'm a conceptual business where I have an idea to start a business, versus I've been around for 10 years and I'm looking to grow. So templates that we use are always customized to your use. So if you reach out to us, we'll gladly share the one that we presented on, but there might be a better one for you.
Thank you. Another question, is there a grant for companies that specifically promote tourism? Off the top of my head, I am not certain. Anyone else have a thought on that, or we can follow back up via email?
Well, so I guess it depends on exactly what type of support they are looking for. If they might be doing some software development, there may be some linkages that we could set them up with some of the universities who do software development projects for students. Again, I'm not sure exactly what they're looking for, and I know there were some possible support through the other part of the EDA on the small business programs that might be helpful.
Thank you.
I have a little something to add to that as well. So one of the things that I recommend for people who are looking for different grants is, you start with the ones that are government-based. So if you go to grants.gov, there is a pretty robust system where you can look through the ones that are applicable to me. Am I a for-profit? Am I a nonprofit? Am I in this state or that state? And depending on how you enter all those fields, you'll see a bunch of government-backed grants that pop up. There's also a lot of private ones, and we're playing around with an AI-based system, at the SBDC that scans the internet in real time to see which grants are applicable and available to you. So that might be something that we can help out with as well.
Thank you. I think there was a question as well about when will we know the results of the New Jersey Innovation Fellows applications from 2024. That is with a different group, and so we will check in. I don't have that answer for you. Oh, I see a few more popping up. This is fantastic. This is what open office hours are for. If we have a research proposal in life sciences field, do they have any research grant? Would that have any research grant?
So the federal SBIR program has a number of initiatives from Department of Health and Human Services and National Science Foundation that could be good opportunities. And I would certainly encourage you to, as a first step, get signed up with the other part of the Small Business Development Center, their tech team that can help you look at matching opportunities for those life sciences things. Additionally, our Catalyst R&D voucher grant provides up to $40,000 to access some specialized equipment at New Jersey universities. If you're looking to do animal testing, that could be an option. If there's some other specific equipment that you need to get access to for the life sciences development, that could be an opportunity. And I see there was another question. I'm looking for help with a lab with specific equipment to generate data to submit for an SBIR. Please fill out on our Catalyst R&D voucher. Indicate what you are looking, what kind of data you're looking to get, what you're looking to do. And if you're not sure, is it Rutgers, is it Kane, is it NJIT Montclair? Don't worry about that, because we will make the match and find and talk to a lab who would be able to help you with the kind of data that you are looking, to be able to generate.
Thank you. I think there's another one there for you, Judith. Is there a general funding timeline for CSIC grants, like at the federal level?
As I said, we have a couple of programs that operate on a rolling basis, which are currently open, and so there's no defined deadline. For our seed grants, yes, there will be a specific deadline, but we don't know what those are yet, because we're waiting to get board approval for our Clean Tech seed grant program.
Thank you, Judith. Are there grants for platforms that improve soft skills, interpersonal and conversational skills in the workplace? The majority of the technology innovation programs are focused on companies that have IP. So it would, depend. Again, it would probably be the answer there.
And I guess, to not get totally off base, but there is a program through the National Science Foundation, NSF I-Corps program, and within New Jersey, Princeton University runs the NSF Northeast I-Corps Hub. I would certainly encourage entrepreneurs, and I'll look up the link that we can put in the chat, to take a look at some of their programs where they help with customer discovery work, so that there could be some support through that program to help you ensure that the system that you are developing really aligns with customer needs.
Will there be a Catalyst Seed Grant program this year?
We are waiting to see what our funding is likely to be. At the moment, the one that we have planned is in the clean tech space.
Thank you. Sarah, are there any new approved workspaces under the NJ Ignite program?
No, for the moment, we don't have any new approved workspaces.
Thank you. Back to Judith, I believe. When do I get a verification code for my Catalyst Research and Development Voucher Pilot Program? They filled out the questionnaire online.
So okay. So as I said, if your application is in, it gets reviewed. You will we'll get you in contact with an appropriate university partner. The partner will help figure out the exact scope of work and the budget details. And once we get that letter from your academic partner, we'll send you the code to finish the application. If I can see. Oh, I know. Okay, Rosemary, I see. I believe you should be getting I believe Rutgers was going to get in contact with you, the Rutgers Makerspace, around the development of your specific system. I was on a call yesterday, and I know your project was discussed.
Thank you.
I'm going to put in the chat if that's the right place, the I-Corps, Northeast I-Corps link. Let me put that in there.
Great. And then, very specific here, but is clean tech going to cover things like energy efficient computing, or is there a better path for this?
Okay, when we talk about clean tech, it's anything that reduces or mitigates greenhouse gas emissions. And when you fill out the online application, in the past, we're going to ask questions that ask, what's the innovation? How is this reducing greenhouse gas emissions? So it's not just, grid stuff or battery stuff. So conceivably, the technology that is being asked about could be considered a clean tech application.
Thank you. Again, on the CleanTech app, does the CleanTech app also apply to consultancy startups related to CleanTech?
Again, we'd have to look. I want to say it's kind of Clark's answer. It depends. We'd have to take a look at exactly what you are, what's being proposed. And I guess I also would like to mention there's a program called CleanTech Open Northeast. We are planning to help companies, broadly speaking, in the clean tech space, take a look at that opportunities as well, which provide some business development support for companies who are, again, broadly speaking, working in the clean tech space. And on March 19th, and we can send out to everybody on this call, we're going to be hosting a open house at the Hacks facility in Newark, talking about Clean Tech Open Northeast and whether this business development program is a good match for your company. So kind of stay tuned on that. And Cecily will give information so you can send it out to everybody who is on this call.
Fantastic. All right, wonderful. Any other questions? Well, with that, I appreciate all of your attention today. I appreciate all of the questions. Someone is asking for the link for New Jersey SBDC. It said it didn't work. Is Sean or Ryan still on?
Oh, the tech team link didn't work?
Yes.
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, the tech team link. All right. Well, what I can do is I'll put up my email in the chat, and if anybody has any difficulties trying to get a hold of anybody at the SBDC, I'll make sure to pass that message along and put you in contact with the right person. So I'm not sure why the tech team link is not working, but I'm going to make sure that from there gets a hold of you. My email, I'll put it in the chat now.
Thank you.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah,
well, with that,
thank you. I don't.
Thank you. With that, why don't we go back to our office hours slide, Daniela? Just to remind people of the next events. And the February 1, as mentioned, will be in person in North Brunswick, with followed up by March, which will be virtual again. So thank you again for spending your Friday afternoon with us. We greatly appreciate your interest in New Jersey and in the New Jersey EDA programs. And we look forward to talking with you again. Thank you.